Grand Rising, one and all. Greetings, good afternoon, evening, depending on where you are joining us today from in the world. My name is Naa Amerley Asante-Armar, and you are tuned into this week's Female Genital Mutilation and its Harmful Effects, the series. Joining us, well, I'm streaming live from Ghana. We're in different places today, in Kenya, in Canada, but I'm sure you're joining either from the Power to Our Mothers Foundation Africa Facebook page, the United States of Africa Facebook page, or the United States of Africa YouTube channel. So whichever platform you are on, kindly take a few seconds to just like or subscribe and share the broadcast, because we never know who and how many people we can impact. So welcome. We are joined today by my beautiful, my lovely co-host, Najar Nyakio, and our guest, our return guest and former panelist, Maryam Sheikh. And it's always a pleasure to be joined by these wonderful women, because we always get to share and hear and learn information that maybe you are not aware of, or we are not aware of. I'm always learning on this platform. So before we get into this week's episode, which is all about a journey of healing, let me open up the floor and allow my co-host and guests to say hi and introduce themselves. Sister Najar, would you like to greet the audience?
Greetings, everybody. Thank you, Naa Amerley. Did I get that right? And welcome, Maryam Sheikh. It's a pleasure to have you back. So this week we are going to be letting Maryam continue with part 2 of her story. If you haven't watched the part 1, our host will put up a link so that you'll be able to catch up. I send greetings to everybody wherever you are in the world. And I thank also our President Daniel for the space that he has given us for this platform, which is GPAN, Global Pan-African Network. So welcome everybody, and continue with this discussion, which is very, very important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sister Najar. Welcome back, Sister Maryam. As Sister Najar said, I will post a link of when we first spoke to Maryam about her experience as a survivor, having undergone the practice of female genital mutilation. I really will drop that link because it was very impactful, and you may not have heard an account like that before. So if you really want to get an understanding of what this means in practical terms for our girls and our women, I will direct you to watch that discussion. So Sister Maryam, thank you for coming back to us again. And please, we invite you to share a bit about yourself, and particularly, so having undergone female genital mutilation at the tender age of 6 years old, what has your journey been like to recover and to heal from that?
Thank you very much, Sister Najar and Sister Asante, for inviting me today and for having me again. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon all of you, those who are joining us from wherever. My journey, as I said, is still a journey. As I said in the last episode, this is still a journey. This is something that is not done and dusted. This is something that shares a life with you. And so today we will focus on how did I get to where I am? Because as I said in the first episode, I was cut at the tender age of 6, and I was actually looking forward to it, because that's what happens. That's what happens. It's like, you know, you're going to remove your teeth, or you're going to go and look after goats, or you're going to till the farm. You might not like it, you feel it is, but at least for those ones, you might know what they entail. The thing that was scaring for me was the pain, but nobody had prepared me enough, and nobody could prepare me enough for what it actually entailed. And so when I went through it, healed, I was very lucky, not like others who had to undergo it again. There was a girl in my team who had to undergo the ordeal again because, as I said, Somali community does the type 3, which where they seal the whole vulva, the whole lips, the labia majora are infibrillated, are co-joined. So if you don't join well, and they find it's like you have not covered and healed together well, they do the cutting again. So there was an unfortunate girl in our team who had to undergo it again. I was lucky I didn't undergo it again, and I healed, and of course went about life. It's like never to think about it again. And until when I was at Moi University doing my bachelor's, something just accident. It was just an accidental conversation. That's what I call it. My friend, very good friend, a lady who was 1 year ahead of me in campus, but we were very close. We were always very close. We were together. You know, when you get into big campuses like that and how they are, Najar, you can tell about. And I'm sure anyone who has been through different campuses in the world, especially those ones in Africa, definitely you tend to have those little groupings at the end of the day. So we had a very strong sisterhood among the Muslim sisters, and of course the sisterhood and brotherhood among ourselves, and so on with your classmates and that. So, and she and I were very close, and of course we were trying to uphold our identity, to uphold our religious beliefs in the multitude of all these people, and you know, stand out and be who we are supposed to be, while also keeping to our own identities. And that's how we were like friends. And she knew the struggles every month. When I get my periods, I'm missing classes, I'm sick, I am in bed, I'm vomiting. Sometimes it is not so bad, sometimes it is bad. You would even think it's like I'm dying the next minute how I am. So she could see that. And so one day she just asked, why is it that, you know, your periods are this bad, you know? And as a matter of fact, depending on, I mean, the thing that I knew in my head then, I told her, well, you know, I have not been circumcised. That was the language we were using then. I mean, of course, I know FGM has nothing to do with circumcision. It can't be called circumcision even, but that's what the terminology we were using then. So I told her, you know, I wasn't circumcised exactly as you are. And I said that because when in my community, the belief is that every other Muslim girl is cut, only that the difference is how we cut. And because we are Somali and we have this traditional cut, ours is this bad and this severe. That's when we talk about knowledge. People know it's bad, but they still do it. We all know exercise is good. How many of us go to do exercise? So this is the thing. Knowledge and action are sometimes not in sync. So so I told her, yeah, you know, I wasn't circumcised like you. And the girl was shocked. She told me, what are you talking about? I told her, yeah, but you know, you guys, they do this slight cut. They only cut a bit. Because that's what I thought that's what I was brought up. That's the script I had. That's the narrative in my head. That's the knowledge that I thought was a fact. Fatma was so shocked. And she told me she didn't know what I was talking about. She was not cut. No, nor was her mom cut. Nor was any other woman in her family. So it was my turn to be shocked. I'm like, really? How can you be a Muslim and you're not cut? I mean, this is the script that we are fed with, and this is the lie that still continues to date, you know? So this is what I had. How can you be a Muslim and you're not cut? Your prayers are not being accepted. That was the first thing I told her. Of course, yeah, like, you know, I was the judge, and that's what continues to happen even today. That's when people tell you, you're not a good Muslim, and you know, so it continues. So that was the narrative in my head, and that's what I told my good friend. She ran out of my room very traumatized, and she felt insulted, so she ran out. And that day, in my room was another friend, another Somali lady who was asleep. We thought she was asleep. She and I had come out from out, but this lady was lying on my bed, and she opened the blanket and she's like, "What did I just hear?" And I told her, "Oh, so you are awake? Did you hear?" And so we started discussing. Oh my goodness, yeah, no wonder we hear these guys. You know, their Islam is not true. They have watered it down. How? So that is exactly the point I was at. But there was just something at the back of my head saying, "But how? But how? You know, how? How?" And I didn't know what that question was. Then that lady invited the other, there were so many other Muslim ladies who didn't come from communities who cut. We all know the coast of Kenya, people are not cut. The western part of Kenya, people are not cut. You know, women are not cut. And so we Muslim girls from these different communities. And we had a meeting, a kamukunji, as we call it in Kenya. And these Muslim ladies told us, please show us the evidence. Here is the Quran. We want to know where the evidence is. We are a community that is largely Muslim, but very, very ignorant, and especially the women. It's what we are told. It's been said. It's been said. That's how people go on. So we didn't have evidence. So how did we get ourselves out of that trap? So we told them, hey, we aren't even arguing anything religious with you guys. You guys even have your religion is watered down. We don't even think we are on the same path, blah, blah, blah. And we just insulted them further and got ourselves out. But as I walked out of that meeting, honestly, I had a question on my head. Who is on the right? All these girls cannot be wrong. Who is on the right? And it's a question that stayed with me for the next 3 years until Beijing happened in 1995.
Okay.
So
can I just?
Yeah.
Sorry, Sister Maryam. You have covered a lot there in that short space of time. So I just want to kind of recap. So you went from a position where you had understood, you've been taught, you've been told that this practice was normal, quote unquote normal. It's just something that you underwent. It's not something you necessarily look forward to, but you just knew that it's something that you had to go through on the basis that it's just what's done. And then you found out that actually that there are people in your community, in other Muslims, that were not having the practice done. And then coming to find out that, oh, well, I don't know if we've got there yet, but the fact that it is not something that is strictly Muslim. It's not of Islam. It's not religious.
That would be my second shocker in life. That would be my second shocker in life, that there are actually non-Somali communities who are even non-Muslim who do it. That was my second shocker in life. So I was actually coming to that. I'm just giving you a background, because up to where I am has been a journey, a real journey, and a real struggle.
No, thank you. I didn't want to give the game away, but we've discussed it before. But you will tell us in detail. But the fact that it was in complete revelation, to you, and there were other women or girls that were not undergoing this practice. And for me, what really made me stop and ask you the question is the fact that this happened to you at 6 years old. And we're now at least 4 decades beyond that. And when you speak, I still hear the pain, and I say that for your fellow sisters who are out there, who have undergone there, and the mothers who are considering, having their daughters undergo this practice, that this is the reality, that this will stay with them, as you will find out from Sister Maryam. But I just wanted to make that point.
No, thank you so much. Thanks for even taking. Thank you for taking us to that, because, and I even tweeted about this, that the two shockers for me in life was, one, there are Muslims who are not cut, and two, there are non-Somali, non-Muslim who are not cut. Sorry,
Sister Maryam, Sister Najar wants to say something.
Yes, because remember what you said is very important, because you said that you were friends with this girl who was also a Muslim, and then she asked you an innocent question, and she was asking you, I think, to help you, right? To assist you out of your pain.
In fact,
And
that day I wasn't even having my periods, but it just came accidental. As we walked she came from her lecture, I came from my lecture, we met and we were walking to my room, and she just asked the question.
okay.
Because she has
So
witnessed, yeah.
yeah. So this is somebody who really cares for you. And I'm telling you, I'm asking this because it's something which also happens on a wider scale.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who really cares for you, she asks you this question, and then you find out that she is not circumcised. And on that basis, now it comes to a war of no, who is more Muslim than the other, who is more
Yeah.
religious than the other. So it becomes a religious war.
Yeah.
I'm curious, did you keep up with the friendship or did it break?
It didn't. After that meeting, as I told you, I walked away from the meeting with a question in my head. And I was wondering who is on the right here. Luckily, that didn't affect us because she could see the stupidity. She could see the ignorance right through me. She could see where I was, the position. She's a good friend. She's a good friend up to now. And I always tell her, I continue to quote you until do us part, you know.
So she held on, which is a very good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
but we never discussed after that. We never discussed that issue after that because you see the point it got to. We were even now judging her Islam. So and I say we because the other Somali girl also sort of like joined in, and this was now just ego thing, and it still happens. We just felt we had something here we had to defend. We had to defend.
It still happens.
And that's what happens in ignorance.
We're usually told, no, you're not a Somali, you don't understand, you're not a Muslim, you don't understand. You can't, you don't come here and try and help us. No, we don't need your help. You guys, you're not even Muslims, you're not even this, that, and the other. So instead of it becoming a meeting point, it ends up becoming a division between women, which is not
good. And I share my story. I always share my story because look at we keep talking about education. Yes, education is important because if I didn't even have education, I wouldn't have met Fatima at university. But again, it depends on what kind of what is the information that you have. I was at university still defending an ignorant position, you know. But luckily for me, the question was implanted in my head, and that's what takes place when social norms need to change. We have to be able to implant a question, a doubt. That doubt has to be planted in. So the doubt was planted in that day, and it stayed on until Beijing happened. When Beijing happened, I came across a document that said very many Muslim communities think FGM is Islamic, that it's a must, that it has to happen, when only it is optional. I don't like using the Arabic term because that is the term that has cemented this thing as Islamic and has cheated the world that this is religious. It is not. So I don't like using the Arabic term. So it's optional. That was the turning point for me because I now questioned and I was like, whoever asks me about all the other optional religious acts, like do I fast Mondays and Thursdays? Do I pray? Do have, for example, 10 a.m. in the morning? These are all optional prayers. Do I wake up in the midnight? Who has ever asked me? Who has even ever taught me? Who has even ever, wanted to teach me and do it with me? Nobody. How comes this painful thing? Why was I taken through this painful thing? In the name of it is optional. So I went through a period of anger, a period of frustration, a period of not knowing who to ask, which information to seek. And I was doubting. I was even doubting. Immediately, I doubted that document. I was like, no, I don't think this evil thing, this painful thing. Those were the words I began using in my own conversation with the bath, with the in the mirror. This is evil. This must be the hands of this is evil. This can't be. Islam is a religion of mercy. If we cannot even cut the ears of animals, because we are pastoralists, we always make ear markings, and that has been stopped. When you want to do the sacrifice for Eid al-Adha, the second Eid, when you're choosing the animal, you have to choose an animal that doesn't have any ear missing or anything missing, or because you have to get up. So when anything is missing, then the animal is not perfect. If we are not allowed to even slice the ears of this cow or this goat, how can my parts be left? So I went through a period of serious anger and frustration. And I didn't even know who to turn my anger to. Is it my sister, my cousin sister who cut me? Is it my mom who let me go with her? Is it the community who was celebrating? Is it me who thought it was good and I was looking forward to? I was just in a period of, it was a turmoil, serious turmoil. And then I decided, no, this has to stop. This information must get to people and it has to stop. But you see, I wasn't armed enough. I didn't know how to cross over this bridge of saying it's optional. It is, once something is optional, I mean, you're saying it's religious, you're legitimizing it. Whether I choose to do the option or not, then, is another thing. But the bottom line is you're saying it's religious. That's what I had a problem with. And I didn't have an answer. There was no Google, there was no research, there was no one to turn to. We all know the people in whose hands religion has been for the longest, men who don't even know and don't care. This doesn't happen to them, and they don't even understand. So I went through as a period of that, I said. And then in 1998, as I was working in the Kakuma refugee camp, all this while FGM will sometimes come to my head and I'm like, yes, this evil thing, but again, I don't have a way of crossing that bridge. I would reach that bridge. How can this thing be Islamic and then stop there? And I didn't have information. I wasn't armed enough. I tried talking to my family, trying to save my nieces, and everyone would tell me this thing is optional. Don't even bring your Western, your English, your American ideas here. And I wasn't even able to make any headway in my own homework. In 1998, I attended a reproductive health workshop. By now, I'm sure our listeners and everyone knows my age. So by 1998, I was a woman in her late 20s. That was the first time I saw the urethra opening. And I was like, oh my goodness, where is my urethra opening? Because as I told you and as I described what I went through, there was just a flat pad of skin and urine trickling down from a small hole down there. I didn't know where my urethra opening was. So I go to the bathroom. Unfortunately, for people who maybe feel this is too graphic, I'm sorry. This is my story, and FGM has to be said as it is. We have to split the hair sometimes. So I went to the bathroom and decided to place my finger on top of the pad of skin to just find out where my urethra opening is. I could feel the ring of urine underneath that skin. And so it meant urine trickled down the closure and came out. What does that mean now Islamically? I carried part of my skin that had urine. I wasn't clean enough to face even Allah in prayers. And sometimes I would just sit and let the prayer time move, and I'm like, I'm not clean enough. How can I pray? And it was another years of turmoil. At night I will be like, no. Tomorrow I'll walk to the hospital. I have to open up this skin because I want this urine to flush out and get out of my body. And I want to be clean so that I can wash and I'm clean to pray. Then in the morning, I ask myself, okay, you go open yourself. And then what? Tomorrow when you get married, you meet this. I mean, of course, my option then, Somali man who expects to meet a place which is this tight and that sewn together. Suppose he says this woman wasn't a virgin, wasn't clean, wasn't pure. Everything I stood for would be washed down the drain. So the next girl will not be allowed the options and the opportunities I was given. I'm going to soil everything. No boarding school, no secondary, no university, no being allowed to go and work in the refugee camps, which was an extension of like boarding life. All these places would have been castigated to mean these are the places that spoiled me. So in the morning, I close that story. And then at night, when I'm in bed, it comes back. So again, another turmoil, not of just going through a painful thing that was Islamic, not being able to stop it. But again, here I am knowing I'm not even clean enough. It was done in the name of Islam, but now I'm realizing it is even stopping my religious practices, because and that cemented the belief of this is just the work of the devil, this is evil, this has nothing to do. And of course it has nothing to do. And 11 years from that day we had the conversation, I got the most liberating piece of information that I've been looking for, that this thing is indeed not Islamic. It has nothing to do with Islam. The piece of information that I was looking for, why has it ever been linked with Islam? Looking through the kind of verses people use, the hadith people have taken, misinterpreting it, misunderstanding them and all that. And that was the best moment in my life. 360 degrees. And I started my journey of educating people. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but these are tears of happiness today. No, these are tears of happiness today. Okay. These are tears of happiness today.
Do not be sorry. Do not apologize. Please, don't apologize.
Okay. Yeah, these are tears of happiness today, because if I change, anyone can. That is the thing. And today we do have information. As I said in the beginning, the second shocker for me was the fact that not just Somalis or Muslims cut. Actually, this thing is across. It's across religion. It's across community. It's across continents now. Now we have research in 92 countries. FGM is no longer an African thing. It is not ours. And as Najar gave us from history, it has never been ours right from the beginning. But for a long time, it was considered ours. Now we even know it happens in the globe, 92 countries, and still counting. So today, my tears are tears of happiness and hope of the fact that it is possible to change. And I'm on that journey. And the day I actually was invited to an interview, for a position to work with the Somali community in Wajir, that was the answer. Because every time FGM came to my head, I would have conversations with God, and I'm like, okay, fine, show me. What do you want me to do about it? I'll do. That is the day God delivered that position. And I'm telling you, it was the most rewarding job I have ever held, ever. In the 20 years of my career, that has been the most rewarding position. Anytime I worked on it, I never felt it was work. I just felt that this is a mission. This is my passion. This is my calling. I have to save another girl. I don't want another girl to go through. That was my drive. It was very, very challenging when you know the pain and you identify with the pain and you want it to end as like now. And we know, again, the reality, this is a social norm. This is something people consider to be like wearing clothes. So it's not easy for it to end. If it took me all those years of time on, you can imagine someone who was not even in my level, in my position, how much longer it can take them, So it is possible. And I'm still on that journey. I don't work for anyone today, but every day that I wake up, it's something on FGM that I'm doing. Either I'm tweeting, or I'm talking, or I'm writing, and my book is coming out soon. So yeah, I don't know if I've covered the journey well, but if you have any questions, I will be able to add on. Because I don't want to get into the details of the challenges in the community, because that we understand from research now when I was doing the work. But that has been my journey, just a projection of how it has been.
Thank you so much. And no, I would say that even getting into the challenges, because yes, there are books, but like you yourself said, you kind of came upon this revelation by accident. It's not like it was completely because it was your norm. So I think that even there is important, that the fact that we wouldn't necessarily expect people to know these things yet, because you're still uncovering information up until this point in your life. And that is
Yeah.
the reason why it's so important that we think, we speak about these things, because for some, they will feel that, yes, they're very seasoned, they know about all this. What is all the fuss about? You are desecrating some kind of ancient tradition, of our people. And as you said and reminded us, and we have discussed here before, it was not ours. It was not originally um, a practice of ours. I have shared the link to the first episode of this series, where we talked about, Sister Najar took us through the history, and there are slides posted on the various pages, that it did originate in Rome. And it didn't even start with us as African people, with other races before us, as a mark of slavery. It was business. So I do thank you for sharing, for what you are sharing. And you know, if people don't hear it here, like you say, where else will girls, women, where else will they hear it? Because you didn't have anywhere that you thought you could turn to, you know. So I agree with Sister Najar. Please don't apologize, because we don't know if it's just one person. Like you said, that's all we have to say. If it's one person, one girl, one woman, one man that hears this and thinks, oh wow, I cannot have any woman in my life go through this, then we're doing
Yeah.
something. That is the point, So I do really thank you for sharing. What really struck me as making no sense is when you were saying that what you were taught is that this is something that was as part of Islam, because you are a Muslim, but yet the very thing that has been done under the auspices of religion, Islam, then goes and puts you in a situation where you are not able to practice Islam in the way that it's supposed to be practiced, this feeling of uncleanliness. So how can that be, how can that be a legitimate thing? How can that be something that is well, that makes sense, number one, but is something that is in keeping with what Islam practices?
Well, the sad bit is, they'll tell you Islam has not ordered us to do that severe one. That's your culture. So we are doing the milder one, quote unquote. So that would be a counter answer for most people. But we are saying that Islam actually is against any cutting, any causing harm, any pouring blood, and any getting rid of any healthy organ. So basically you get back to that basics, but the immediate answer they will give you is, oh, but you see, insemination is your culture, it is not Islam. So you find yourself in another quagmire. But the answer to all this is, first of all, it has no basis. That was, as I said, it was the most liberating piece of information the day I came across what they use, what they misinterpret, and the misunderstanding of one Arabic term called al-khitan. Al-khitan is male circumcision, and that whenever they see it in a text, they translate it to mean general circumcision. So, and for FGM, it's not even circumcision. We cannot call it circumcision. It's mutilation. It is mutilation. That's why it's mutilation. Cutting healthy organs is mutilation. So, that's what they'll tell you. We do this bad one, but yeah. So the bottom line is there's none that is condoned. So that's the most liberating, and that's information that people need to know. And when you remember in October, I had this unveiling of the name. What is the clitoris called in Somali? Kintir. And the backlash and the name calling and everything that I had on Facebook, it has led to
Yeah.
opening conversations in this. And so the day they invited me to go and talk on this, the other day I really said this and I was to share, but I couldn't find it. I don't know, I think maybe they removed it. So it has really helped them when I gave them this story. Like, you see, I also struggled. I was in the same position. There was a time I was To me, it's like, how can anybody say FGM should be stopped? Even though I went through, it was horrendous, it was pain that cannot even be described, but I still sort of like wanted to hold on to it. That's what ignorance does to you. So please, today we're in the information age. Wake up, go look for info. Don't listen to what people say, because the bottom line is this is harmful, this is life-threatening. That should be the mechanism from which we operate. It's life-threatening. The 200 million survivors are scarred for life. This lives with us. We still live the problems that arise from FGM. To date, it doesn't leave you. The recurrent infections, the pain, you know, everything continues to live with you. It doesn't stop it. So get information, people. Don't listen to what is being said. Alhamdulillah, this thing has nothing to do with religion, any religion. Animists do, Christians do, Muslims do, and anybody does. This thing is just about control, and it is just something that has nothing to do with particular community or particular religion. I was recounting my story because of the fact that today I know there are people who are in that position who think they have to defend it because it is theirs, it is religious. The second piece of shock for me was to find out it was practiced in so many different communities in Kenya, and then in Africa, and then in the world. That was, again, another big eye-opener to tell me that it's not mine. So,
wow. Thank you so much, Sister Maryam. We can maybe, well, I was going to say we can maybe imagine on the physical aspect, but sorry, I think my picture's frozen. But how have you, like, what steps have you taken to kind of heal from this, whether on the physical, on the mental, on the emotional side? How do you think that you have tried to come to terms with what you have been through?
The number one thing was that resolve that I will do whatever I can to stop it, for it to happen in any other girl that I can reach, whether in my family or anyone else. So using my voice, using my pain for this purpose, this is the number one step for me towards healing. Within it, of course, sometimes I'm taken back. I have to revisit always that wound, because you can't help it but revisit. When you meet the opposition wall and the silence, and even your own family, they start sort of like, you know, if GM continues to be done, like it always takes you back. But my resolve has always been, there is one person who can listen. There is one girl whom I can save. So I'll continue. So this has been my journey. There is my poem called "The Cat," which is on the internet. I say it's my gift to humanity. When I was recounting that day, it's a day I was away from my home, my son, for 2 weeks. I was away in Wajir doing research, and I was so tired. And before I even got to office, I got a phone call from my sister. This is the one sister I thought was an ally, understood my mission, whom we used to discuss even things, even the you know, like the unmentionables, sex, enjoyment, orgasm, you know, these are not subjects that are discussed. So the one person I thought understood my mission totally. We were on different pedestal. I was saying FGM needs to end. For her, it was type 3 needs to end, and we need to do what they'll call the less. I don't know how you can measure pain, which is less and which is more. So she gives me a call and says, "Oh, today we cut Saadia's children." Saadia is her daughter, so these were her granddaughters. Saadia's daughters, but don't worry, we only did the mild type. That was so heartbreaking. And I revisited my pain, and I wrote that poem on that day, because I just felt I was so alone. I felt the ground shift on my feet. Here I am trying to go to another district, even though they are my people, they are Somalis, speak the same language and everything, but it was another district. How am I going to change people in another district when in my own home, my own family, my own ally is not changed? How can I continue cheating the world? So I sat in my office, I cried. One of the things I remember is my office overlooked a road called Ngong Road. It was directly opposite the traffic police, Najar. I know you know Nairobi well. And behind the traffic police is the biggest national hospital, Kenyatta National Hospital. And across on the other hand is the mortuary, is the city mortuary. And so I remember seeing this one woman in a red car. That has never left my head. As I sat down crying, and my world was shattered, I just looked at the cars and I remember this woman and I was like, oh my goodness, she must have her life together. She must be going for, this was on a Saturday actually, she must be going for a date. She could have been visiting a sick person in the hospital, or she could have been even visiting someone in the mortuary. But my mind just said, this woman in the red car is going for a date. Here I am, my world has shattered. Why have I chosen this path? So I am always taken back when such things happen, setbacks happen, and you feel there's just no hope, there's just no way of making headway. The other thing is when one day my mom asked me, what will you do if your daughter was cut? What? No, I'm just asking, what will you do? Why would anybody cut my daughter? I'm just asking, it's just a question. What will you do? Here you are, you always talk about this thing. You know, and in this country, you have always told us, you have shown us how it is illegal, that we can all go to jail if we continue. I'm just asking, Mom, are you thinking of doing anything? No, not me. Not even in my death. Why would I even do anything to you? I'm just asking. That was a wake-up call. That was a serious wake-up call for me. I couldn't even send my daughter home for holidays after that without me going with her, because what would I do if my mom cut my daughter? Yes, here I am a serious activist. Yes, I have worked towards having law in place in Kenya. What would I do? My daughter, my mom, she has cut her. Take her to jail? Very, very, it comes to practically to that. You know, it hits you on the face and takes me aback again. I'm like, why am I even on this path? Who can I change if I can change my own community? But then I'm reminded of friends, people who have even named their daughters after me, who had my story, who had my mission, and who have decided they are saving their daughters. I'm reminded of neighbors whom we just haven't had accidental chats, never even thought they'll pay attention. And the father comes and says, you know what, you really made sense to us. We're not going to cut our daughters, and on goes the list. So that's why I keep saying when I shed tears, it's mixed tears of, yes, the challenge and the daunting issue of GMEs, but also of the little gains that we are making. And we need to celebrate this. I'm taken aback again. Yes, I'm always taken back. I try. You were asking me about healing, and that's why I said it's a journey, but it's a journey that's also not straight. It's not a straight path. It meanders. And one day my daughter comes in the morning and she tells me, Mom, I don't want to grow snakes down there. I was told you have grow snakes if I'm not cut. Who told you? And she mentions my niece. And can I answer a call? I don't know. Can I answer a call? Just get me off. Sorry. This is.
It's okay. While we are waiting, I just personally sharing, when she said that she was asked that question about what would she do if her daughter was cut, like I just filled with dread, because how I received that is somebody literally threatening my child.
Yes.
I could not think of anything. I could not think of anything worse. I literally, like, I feel it now, thinking, oh my goodness.
And this is for the better of the community. This would be for the better of the community, because that's what they say. And then let me just answer that the question which she said that her daughter was told, which is a
Yes.
lie. What happens is this with the vagina. Um, with the vulva,
Yes.
every time you give birth, every time you give birth, they become, they stretch out like a muscle because they are muscles.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
within the vagina, we are wonderfully made like a concertina. You know what a concertina is? You know those music things which
Fine.
you, yeah,
Yeah.
like that. So within the
Mm-hmm.
vagina, it's got that piping inside, which it stretches out. Okay. So when we're
Yeah.
giving birth, it stretches out, and then it all goes back together again after giving birth. Okay. We are so wonderfully made. Now, what happens is that because the vulvar muscles are part of that, okay, when they go back,
Mm-hmm.
just like our breasts after breastfeeding, they don't go back to they don't go
The
back to
original.
before. Okay, even
Mhm.
um, you know how we all have such skinny arms when we are in our teens, and then each time we get a baby, the arms get fatter and fatter and fatter. So you can tell a woman who's gotten a lot of kids and a woman who hasn't had any kids from her
Mhm.
arms, right? So it's the same thing with the vagina. So it keeps getting longer and longer and longer and longer. Um, and it's just a wonderful thing because what happens is that the second birth is easier, the third birth is easier because it's just helping with the removal of the it's a birth canal. That's what it's supposed to do. So it just helps with the birthing, right? Now,
Mhm.
when the vagina, when it doesn't go back, okay, what does it do? It beautifully hangs down, and that's what they call snakes. That is what they call snakes. And what I hate, what I really dislike about this is that as women, we are not allowed to grow older in a beautiful way. We are told that we must stay with our breasts high up. We must stay with our arms skinny, like a young teenage girl. We must stay with our stomachs flat, like um,
Yeah.
a woman who has not had a baby. We must stay with our butt. Basically, the standard for mothers has just
Mm.
been cut. It's like you're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to have saggy boobs. You're not allowed to have flabby arms. You're not allowed to have a belly fat. You're not allowed to have big thighs. You're not allowed to have big buttocks. You're not allowed to have anything at all,
Yeah.
which describes you as a mother of many. The minute you begin to look like a woman who has given birth to many children, and this is what the womb does, okay? This is what the womb does. That's what its work is. So the minute
Mhm.
you start beginning like your womb is working and your and therefore your body is working and that you are a good mother, yeah, our world has gone mad. And
Crazy. Yeah.
that is what this snakes down there means. They're not snakes. It's just that the vaginal lips become longer and longer and longer and longer and longer. A long time ago, during our great grandparents, okay, our um, our ancestors. I know this because I was told this by the older women. Okay.
Okay.
Um, the length of their vaginal lips was a mark of 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 their womanhood, of their motherhood, and of their age. So the longer the lips were,
Mm-hmm.
the longer the lips were, it was
Mm-hmm.
a sign of who they were as elder women, as um, as um, as mothers who have
Yeah.
birthed and taken care of all these kids. Today, a woman who has very long lips and is also very, very African, it doesn't, it, a sign of very long vulva lips, it's also very, very African. It's not very much with non-melanated peoples. Okay, we're all different. Like, for example,
Mm-hmm.
African women have really protruding backs, okay? So the
Mm-hmm.
same way that we have protruding backs,
Buttocks.
yeah, is the same way that we have that very, very long lips. That's just how we were made, you know? We don't have long blonde hair. We have short or long curly hair, afro, yeah? That's just how we were made. So um, when yeah, when this thing is taught that a girl will have snakes, okay, that is the utter, it's like telling her, it's like telling her stop growing. It's like how we are told that if we sit in the sun we'll become black, and it's better not to sit in the sun
Mm-hmm.
so that you're nice and yellow or fair or white. It's like being told you are more beautiful if you have blonde hair, and it's that kind of utter rubbish. What I think
Indeed. So
we need to do also is we need to have proper um, reproductive education, if I can call it that, so that they are
yes.
the way that we know our eyebrows and our eyes and our noses and our mouths. Okay, I think we should have
Mm-hmm.
100% not sex, but reproductive education, so that we all know, especially our girls, they all know what their reproductive parts are, you know, and they know them as well as, so that, you know, like when Maryam said that she was in her 20s when she found out about the urethra. We need to stop this. We need to give, and that's why I'm saying it's not sex education. It's got nothing to do with sex. It's got everything to do with reproduction. The same way, you know, you have eyebrows, eyes, nose, lips, ears, fingers. We need to know both the internal and the external of our reproductive organs, so that nobody can tell us lies about them. Sorry, Maryam. Welcome back.
Thank you, thank you.
Welcome back.
I was just
I had to take that call. It was from Canada Service, so if I had missed it, I would have missed an important appointment. So I'm sorry. So we continue. It's okay. That's life.
don't be sorry, don't be sorry.
Yeah.
So
No,
I was just
exactly. No,
explaining
that's
where I was explaining where the on a scientific biological
Mm.
um, about the vulva and why our vaginas as African women they become very, 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 very long, and why it is not right to call us names because of what our bodies do when we
and the other
birth.
thing, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think reproductive education is needed, but you see, someone will come up and say, but you had gone through secondary, you had actually done basic biology, about basic anatomy. The issue is, how are our teachers even aware of what goes on for them to even explain to a young girl in secondary who has been cut, whose genitalia is totally different from what you're showing? And you know, remember the silence and the shame that surrounds it, so you don't even pay attention. So yes, I had zoomed through the basic human anatomy biology, but that day in that workshop it was and because of course I was now aware of what was done to me and paying attention to anything around that part of my body. So that was when I said, oh my goodness, do I even have a urethra opening? Yeah, can you imagine?
Yeah. That's very, and it links back to what Sister Najar was saying. And so I've just pulled up this comment where Sister Ingrid is saying, this is why we need to control the narrative of our bodies. And at the moment, the WHO, the World Health Organization, is telling African women what to do with our bodies. This is because we have remained quiet. And so this is why we speak about the need for women to take back responsibility, because as the first educators, and this is why we don't necessarily point the finger and blame. Lots of things have happened, or we've experienced lots of things as a people. We are where we are, and there's cause and effect. But as it is us who undergoes these things, you know, the bad and the good, only we can know how we are affected. So it is for us to change the narrative, to set the narrative, to be able to talk about our own bodies, protect our own bodies. Nobody else is going to do that for us. That's why it's crucial that we have these platforms. We have women who come forward and are courageous like yourself and tell it like it is, not some sugar-coated, you know, gallant story, you know, and something that we should celebrate when the bodies that we were gifted with are being mutilated, desecrated, annihilated, you know, which doesn't make sense if on any level we believe that, you know, our creator, whoever you believe that to be, made us perfectly in some shape or form. We are beautifully and wonderfully made with the things that we need to, you know, to go through this life. So I just absolutely echo what Sister Ingrid is saying is, we are talking and we are doing. And that is exactly what we as the women are supposed to be doing. If we have allies, that is great. But it's only really going to change the more of us can speak about it, because we are the ones who experience it. Sorry, Sister Najar, do you want to say something? Oh, Maryam, go ahead.
Yeah. So thank you. I think that's very powerful. We need to take control of our bodies, yes, and the narratives that go with them, absolutely. And we need to have education on our reproductive health. What is it? What does it entail? We don't even know. And depending on the different communities, we all know can go back and understand right from when we are born where the narrative and you know, begins to change and what we are told, and that's what we need. Wanting to change that doesn't mean we hate our cultures. I don't hate my Somali culture. I didn't apply to it, but I'm proud of it now. So and that doesn't mean I hate it, but I hate this harmful part of it. I hate the demeaning part of it. I hate the belittling females part of it. I hate anything to do with harming another human being part of it. So even as we begin to take control of our bodies and want to take charge of our narratives, we don't have to be either or. And this is what I see even in academia. There are people who are like, don't touch, don't talk. There are allies who mean well, who are genuine, and who really want to point out our issues. So it doesn't mean all of them also like, shut off, don't touch, it's my body, I want to protect it. We know the academicians from our backyard who want to defend FGM in the name of defending culture, in the name of saying cultural relativism. No, I don't buy that bullshit. There's no relativism in harm. Nobody owns harm. Nobody should be taken through harm in the name of culture. This is not our culture. We don't own it. We don't want it. And this is why we have to stay. And in fact, any ally, an African or non-African or whoever it is, who has not even undergone this practice and who stands up to it just because they have a feeling heart and a mind to say, no, this is inhuman, this is life-threatening. That person for me is someone I even put up there. You know, I always uphold anyone who comes to really want to break this silence, these narratives, this harmful practices that we do. So we don't also, let's not also not fall into the other blanket of wanting to defend everything ours in the name of taking control, and then we find ourselves encouraging. You know, that's what I also see, and I don't like the either or. You know, it shouldn't be the either or. So it's injection. I'm not opposing anyone. I'm just an injection for us to take care as we go forward.
Thank you. That was
so much.
Powerful.
Thank you so
sorry,
much.
Sorry, Sister Najar. I just want to say, thank you for all who have made the comments. So, Sister Ingrid, I can see your comments coming up. Sister Najar, please go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you so much, Maryam Sheikh. You know, this journey actually began for me. It began with listening to you. And I keep telling you that. And I keep telling you thank you so much for speaking out. Because if you had not spoken out, I would not have known. And I would not have started reading. You know, I just did not know. You know, we're not told these things. So thank you so much for speaking out. Because when you did, I was shocked. And then I started doing my own reading, finding out and learning. And I was like, oh my goodness, we are not, it's true. It's true. So, Sister Asante, it's true. We are not told these things. So we find them so much later on. And you know, trying to grasp it all when one is older is so disheartening, because the first thing which gets into your mind is like, how many more don't know? It's millions. It's millions. Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sister Maryam.
No, thank you so much. As I said, for me, this is a personal ritual. It's a personal journey. It doesn't matter what time it is. If I have time and space, I use my pain for this purpose, because I wouldn't really want any other girl to go through this harm and this hurt in the ignorance, because it is ignorance driving this thing, and we need to definitely face that and talk about it. I'm really happy after talking and all this. There are a lot of great stories. You are one of them. The Father's End FGM in Garissa that is coming up is another effort that is good. Yesterday I saw people who registered an organization called Tushirikiane, like let's join hands. And one of the objectives is FGM, and these are driven by men from my backyard. So I'm happy. I feel my mission is done. So when I shed tears, it's mixed feelings. It's tears of what I went through, of knowing it is still happening. It's tears of the struggles I still have, even in my own family. But it is also tears of the gains that we have made, however little. One girl saved is good enough. One girl cut is bad enough. That's the mission here. One girl saved is good enough. One girl cut is bad enough. So we keep up.
Yeah, because each one matters, as we say. But it's true. Each and every one does really matter. Each and every girl. So thank you so much, Sister Maryam. I echo what Sister said. We thank you for the viewers for joining us today and for your engagement, your comments and questions. Keep asking questions. It's only when we ask questions and we discuss this, we learn, we can help, we can grow. So please do share the broadcast with, if it's even one person. We don't know what positive impact we can make with that. So thank you again, Sister Maryam, Sister Najar. And for the viewers, we'll see you back again next week, same time, 1 p.m. GMT. 4 p.m. EAT, and if you're in Canada, when we have Sister Maryam back, that's 9:30 NDT. For now, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, and bye-bye.